Con Stathopoulos and Josh Phegan come together in an incredible podcast, Grow, Scale, Master.
An energetic approach to drive progress, master skills, build strengths and put the strategy back into rapid business and personal success.
Backed by real-world experience in rapid scaling to playing the long-term game of business, it's the story of all the lessons learned on the journey to mastery.
Be inspired, renew your energy and chase the future with Grow, Scale, Master.
Con, today is all about planning for performance.
Yes.
This is probably one of the favourite topics for people because I actually think that in every business, believe it or not, I like 2 planning cycles. In Australia, we have the end of the financial year in June 30, but also we also have the end of the calendar year.
Yes.
And so the interesting thing is I look at 2 planning cycles. How am I going for calendar year and how am I going financial year?
Yeah.
So I've got these resets.
Same.
And the key thing is that ultimately when I think about, planning for performance and, by the time people are listening to this, we're going to be kind of at the end of May, I assume. And off the back of that, we're going to be starting to think about our June 30 plans and what we're going to be doing for July. And I really want to stop that phone call of the person who rings me on the 28th of June going, Joshy, I'm 20 grand off budget and hitting bonus dollars. What do I do? And I'm like, work harder earlier.
Yeah.
And so this is interesting. So today, I'm going to run through a couple of things and start to get you to think about if you're doing a bit of a planning session on performance and how you can improve it.
Yep.
Here are some ways to think about it. Number one, what do you want?
Yes.
This is important. 2 concepts, layered and exponential growth.
Yes.
Layered growth, I'm at 20 transactions. How do I get to 22?
Yes.
I'll get a bus. I'll get an extra DL out. Yeah. I'll get in at 8:15. So, okay, great. Next one, exponential. Okay, great. If I'm going to go from 20 to 200, everything breaks.
Yeah.
How do I do 200? Geez, that's 20 transactions a month. How would I do that? Well, geez, I'm going to need to have someone else who can do open homes. I'm going to need 2 people who can do open homes. I'm going to need 3 people in my team that can open homes. I'm going to need an operations person. Geez, which markets would I be in? How would I keep my days on market short? Geez, I'd have to go auction. Geez, I'd have to do vendor paid marketing. Geez, I'd need to do videos and everything. Geez, I'd really need to have a great operations person. And this is the interesting thing is that when you plan for layered growth, it's little tweaks. When you plan for exponential growth, it forces you to reimagine. Mm-hmm. That's the important part of the planning cycle, right? To understand, do you have all of the systems and the foundations in place? And are you ready now for exponential growth by changing your thinking?
I think it comes back to the first thing you said is, what do you want?
So this is the interesting thing is that sometimes, business is not about the money.
No.
Business is about how many customers can I serve. Sometimes it's the quest that you're going on.
Correct.
But sometimes it's just about, how can I just be a better human and help more people?
That's exactly right. I mean, we've got an agent in our business that donates 100% of their commissions to charity.
Yeah.
What do they want? They want to be able to do that every year on the year without fail. So for them, could they exponentially or even have layered growth? Absolutely. But I think the clarity first around, particularly when it comes to planning for performance, it's all about what is it that you want. Right?
So that whole thing is that do I want safety and security? Do I want some risk and challenge?
Yeah.
Do I want risk and reward?
Yeah.
So where am I at in my stage of life? Where am I at given the life events that have gone on?
Yep.
How am I feeling about the future?
Yep.
What things are competing for my time?
Yeah.
What are the things where I want to invest my time and my energy? And, don't be too weird about that. I think The Matrix is a good movie. And off the back of that blue pill, red pill, they say, do you want to be in the same house you're in forever? So you just ask yourself some of those questions. The next one I go to is that then what are your strengths that you've got that you should leverage? So Con, give me 3 strengths that you've got personally that you should leverage.
Me?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. I got great relationships, got a great reputation.
Yes.
I got some really good skill set around, real estate agency business.
Okay, great. And what are some strengths that you need to develop?
None.
Okay, so humility.
Mate, heaps. I got heaps. I think the key...
Come on, give us 3.
Oh, 3
to develop
that I need to develop. Okay, I need to get across this AI stuff, mate. I got my head in the sand. That's one. Second one is my ability to be able to execute on the things that matter. And the third one is my ability to say no because I say yes to everything, right?
Sure.
But what I actually think here when it comes to this, when you're planning for performance...
Yeah.
It's really hard sometimes to know your blind spots.
Sure.
So who's coaching you? Who's mentoring you? Who's keeping you accountable to yourself, to your plan, right? And I think the key thing here is if you've got strengths to develop and you've got strengths that you need to be able to leverage, it actually requires a lot of deep self-work. And I'm not talking about going away to, somewhere where you can meditate for 10 days and don't speak.
Right.
I'm talking about when was the last time you removed yourself from yourself and actually looked at it and said, what worked really, really well this year, and where do I need to actually focus my attention or develop strengths?
Sure. So, there's activities like SWOT or DOS, so strengths, weakness,
correct.
opportunities and threats, or dangers, opportunities and strengths, whichever method you like. But the basic idea is that, there's too many people chasing random things when they should just go and stay focused on the thing that really matters, which is the strength that you could be. And it could be past clients or past market appraisals.
Yeah.
It's like, like I open up against you, and I'm going to go and open Phegan Real Estate across the road.
Yes.
I've got the domain name. We're not
going to be friends anymore.
So now,
podcast over.
Now we're there.
Yeah.
What I want you to think about, who's going to win in Parramatta?
Yeah.
Now, arguably, you should win every day of the week. Depth of talent, amount of past clients, number of transactional data, things that you've actually done, quality of marketing. However, if all of a sudden you and I are just competing doing an open home, then I'm half a chance.
Yeah.
And so from that point of view, if you don't leverage, though, your past clients, your existing landlord network, the existing knowledge that you've got, the quality and expertise of the people in your team, then we're on the same playing field.
Mate, so here's the thing. How do you think we got our start in Parramatta? We didn't have the assets in inverted commas, i.e. big rent roll, longevity, owned our own buildings. We didn't have everything that everyone else had.
Sure.
What we did is we leveraged and exploited the gaps in all of those markets because we had a plan that wasn't playing the same game as everyone else.
Sure.
That's the threat. So the threat is in anyone's market that someone comes in and changes the game.
Sure.
And by the time you've realised how they're playing the game, it's too late. They've mastered it.
So one of the things, Turn the Ship Around, I think, was a fantastic read. And in it, one of the conversations was that, start with intent.
Yeah.
So the intent is what's in our world, the language that we tend to use is what's the mission. So is it, for example, it's 30 sales. Yeah. Okay, great. In order to make 30 sales, I need to list 40. In order to list 40, I probably need to go to 60 listing presentations. In order to do that, I probably need to do 240 market appraisals. So that's intent. Now, in order to do that, organisational clarity, how am I going to go about doing that? So I'm going to need to have an EA or an ops person inside of my team. I'm going to need to add an extra salesperson to my team if I'm going to go to 70, 80, 100 transactions. And so the intent will then force organisational clarity of what am I going to need? And then once I've got the people in play or the systems in play, how to ensure that I've developed technical competence. So can Con actually exchange a set of contracts on an auction? Can Con do an open home? Can he do a callback? Can he take an offer from a buyer? These are the areas of technical competence that person needs to have. So this is the intent of where we're going. This is the organisational clarity of how we're going to get there. And then here's the technical competence to make sure that we can actually do the job.
You know what, Josh? Yes, you're absolutely right. I've got one that I probably just want to put in the intent piece first. It is why. Why are you doing this? What's the greater good of you performing at an... So one of the questions that I will ask from time to time some of our key performers is, where is the gap between where you are and where you want to be? And why is that important to you? And it's not because you want to get from 33% market share to 39% market share. So I think what's really important is connecting people back to, if you're planning to be able to rapidly accelerate your business and your performance, why? What does that actually mean to Josh Phegan? What does it mean to your family?
I've just always loved getting better.
Well, so and that's why we're friends. I'm the same too, and I want to test myself and I want to grasp the opportunity. But let's take it back. Let's keep peeling back the layers. Let's find out, was it because someone told you years ago that you weren't going to be good enough? Was it because you had imposter syndrome? Was it because your parents never had what you've got?
I just wanted a better life.
Well, okay, and so did I. But what I'm getting to is real estate is the biggest vehicle for change in anyone's life.
There's no doubt.
You nail this, you change your life. I'll give you a really good case study. We had an agent in our business that was nowhere.com last year. That's what I call it.
Have you got that domain name?
I've got it, nowhere.com.
Can you imagine that?
So
put photos up of people you think you haven't
nowhere.com. Not because they're a poor agent, just because they were distracted, confused, had no
intent, no organisational clarity, no technical competence.
All of it, right? They made a decision to decide to connect themselves to a greater why, and in the first quarter of this year have listed almost $1 million worth of fees in 3 months.
Yeah, amazing.
How? Why? Because they got back to their why. Then they could look at their mission. Then they had organisational clarity. Now they've gone from literally no listings to 15. Wow, I need a team, and how do I lead a team, etc. Then they go to their technical competency. Geez, I've got to get my vendor management. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah. And so this then is fascinating because what we've developed, and it's something that we're going to show at Blueprint this year, and also something in one of the leaders forums you're coming to shortly, and I can't tell you too much about it.
Ooh.
But the interesting conversation is about, we've actually got some really clear strategies on how to drive the 3 levers for growth. So these are like the 6 or 7 different things that you can do to drive average sale price.
Yeah, gotcha.
These are the 6 or 7 things you can do to drive volume.
Fees,
and
all that type of stuff.
and then these are the 6 or 7 things you can do to drive fees.
Okay, there you go.
And why that's important is that literally how do you go from 50 to 200 sales, or how do you lift your average fee by 0.5%, or how do you actually get the average sale price up by 20%?
That's cool.
And that's what business should really be about. So I know that and it was so funny, you think about it. My dad used to say, hey, watch this. And occasionally we had this guy come in one day and he goes, hey, Josh. I'm like, yeah. He goes, look, I just want to let you know, what I do is I sell fridge magnets. I'm like, oh, yeah. He goes, so what you do is you get a fridge magnet and you give it to people when you go to an appraisal, and they put your magnet with your details on their fridge, and then when they're ready to sell, they call you. This is the cheapest little bit of promotional material you're ever going to buy, but it's going to give you the biggest reward. And anyway, I was there for 20 minutes listening to this guy's sales pitch because I had not much else to do. And the guy left, and Dad said, oh, yeah, how much do they cost? And, whatever it was. And Dad turned to me and goes, oh, great. Now we've just got to get to 69 sales a year before we make $1 of profit.
Yeah.
and it was so good because Dad really kept you thinking all the time. And I remember this, the doors in our office.
Yeah.
And I used to look at them, and Dad's like, yeah, it cost me $35,000 a month to keep those swinging.
Yeah.
And I was thinking, geez, those hinges must be expensive.
Yeah, they're really,
where does the maintenance guy come for that? What Dad was talking about was the fixed costs that needed to be met. And literally, that you got to meet the fixed costs first before you can meet anything else.
That's exactly right, yeah.
And so this is why it's a really important foundational idea, is that when you're planning for performance, know what your cost structure is.
Correct.
But here's the other thing, know what your margin is.
Oh, absolutely.
And so here's the key thing. When you discount your fee, you're discounting your portion of the margin.
Yeah. Yeah, correct.
And so this is so when, like my dad said, hey, was the tax office ring up and say, oh, how you going on the paying the tax this month? Hey, competitors were tough. Oh, don't worry about it.
Well, you know what? There's one of my mentors said something to me that's always stuck to me, is that costs are known, revenue is unknown.
Yes.
Right. So we know what we're planning for.
Yes.
Every single day. We know what it costs to open up every single one of our doors, and we know when we start to hit profit. That's because we've planned to make sure that we can meet that performance.
So what a smart business operator does is they actually put minimum profit return into their break-even point.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, that's exactly right.
Experiences that rapidly shaped you.
Con, what do you got here?
Sometimes the gap between where you want to be and where you are isn't as big as what you think it is.
Oh, yeah.
Right? So I spoke about that earlier, about that agent in our business, but I'm kind of looking at our business and I'm like, Matt, we've had some exponential growth over the last 4 years, right? We've had strong double-digit growth year on year on year. What would it take to double the business in the next 12 months? So I've done a waterfall.
Oh, yeah.
So where do we land, right, this year?
Yeah.
X amount of revenue. And then I've got, okay, if I double that, so let's go from 1 to 2 million.
Yeah.
What are the 3 or 4 things that I can control and measure daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly, biannually and annually that are going to help me get there? So productivity per agent, 1.
Yes.
And what does that work out to be? And there's a stream underneath that. Effective one-on-ones, building teams, stock management, stock in, stock out, yada, yada. 2, mergers and acquisitions.
Yeah.
3, recruitment.
Yeah.
And so what was really interesting is the gap between where I am and where I want to be, which is double, isn't as big as what I think it is. It's pretty cool.
Something that's changing your view.
We hear a lot about the industry talking about buyer work. What I'm saying a lot in the sessions at the moment is that a lot of people probably believe that buyer work is related to marketing. So I'm going to respond to a buyer inquiry and it comes through on domain. I'm then going to be in a position that I'm going to call a buyer back after they come to an open house.
Yes.
As opposed to then also thinking about buyer work being about relationships. And what great agencies are now doing is they're adding a checklist at the point of listing. What other campaigns have we done in the last 12 months where a similar buyer would have walked through?
Yeah.
what previous market appraisals have we done that would now sell theirs, that would sell theirs and then come and buy this one?
Yeah.
What market appraisals have we done or past clients have we got? They've got an asset of a similar type that need to know about the listing. So when it sells, we can get permission to bring a like through, buy through.
Yeah.
And we're going to use Amazon tech that people who buy this also buy this.
Yes.
So now we're going to upgrade the just sold templates.
Yeah.
So that when we say 24 Jones Street has now been sold, if you've missed out on that one, come and look at Rose Street.
Yeah.
And that's on the SMS, that's on the Instagram, reel. That's the conversation then about what we actually do in the email out. Con, why do you think I'm copping so much resistance that that's a great idea about people who buy Rose Street should also come and look at Smith Street?
Because I listed Rose Street and you listed Smith Street and I don't want to share.
But like what happens if you've got that?
It's dude, I've been saying this. We are on the absolute same page. If you like this, you may also like this, and this.
Sure.
It's going to happen, and guess what's going to happen? We all think we're the smartest people. We've got great market share, great businesses, etc. This AI stuff, mate.
Oh, mate, I've got to say to you.
Are we going to have an argument?
Yeah.
Oh, here we go.
Do you know what it's like?
We're about to go to dinner too, mate. I'm going to cancel. I'm going to cancel.
It's going to be exactly the same as me talking about SMS.
Why?
Because everyone's going to have it.
No.
The great equalisation.
I'm not going to argue with that.
Yes.
It's going to be taken out of our control. So the fact that we can control right now,
sure.
If you like Jones Street, you also might like Smith and Rose Street, right?
Oh, that's already happening. But like, why can't agents post it on their Instagram today? Like, if you like Rose Street's just sold, if you missed out on that, come to Jones Street.
Why do you think?
I don't know.
It's because if they haven't listed Rose Street, they don't want to be promoted.
But what happens if they've listed both?
If they've listed both, well, then they're silly. They should be doing that.
But that's a checklist.
That's a check. Well, it's a process, mate.
So mindsets are important.
Well, I thought we were going to have our first fight.
No, never. so here's what I'm going to say, right?
Yes.
I'm going to say something to you, and I want to get your response to this.
Go.
Okay, this is potentially controversial.
Oh, here we go.
I'm not here to take part. I'm here to take over.
Yeah. Yes, you are.
No. Now, let's think about that. Yeah. We both know where that's from.
Yes, correct.
Do you want to talk about it?
Yes, Asai Underworld.
Yeah, so this is a guy that's
been in jail,
and he's come out and he's made an Asai business and seems doing quite well in Western Sydney.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right.
So the interesting conversation, but we both saw that post on Insta.
Yeah.
And the interesting thing about it is, though, I actually don't mind it as an internal mind, not an external thing, but as an internal mindset to say, hey, you're not here just to take part, you're here to take over. What would it take to become number one? And that's not through ego, it's through great customer service, it's through great experience, it's about really making sure that you care about customers. And this is why it's a really important foundational idea that when we talk about today about getting better around planning for performance, it's exactly that. You got to plan for the type of performer that you want to become.
100%.